I want you to take just a moment and draw a little word picture in your mind for me. I want you to think about the idea of your being one of five siblings, and so you have four others. And I want you to consider the idea that those individuals decide that it's a great idea to make you their servant, and so they unanimously decide that that's what they're going to do. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a great idea to me. It doesn't sound like a great idea. I want to welcome you this morning to the Daily Summation for Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am Kurt. Today is October the 13th, and it is a Tuesday. I hope you're having a good day today. Welcome aboard. Welcome to anybody who happens to be paying attention to me on the podcast or who happens to be seeing my video on YouTube or Rumble. Okay, so what's the point of the word picture we just drew? Well, the first point is maybe not quite as obvious as you would think. Maybe it's really obvious to a lot of folks. The point is this: democracy seems like a wonderful idea until you come to understand that when the majority votes, they can vote for things that are really, really bad ideas, and everybody is sort of stuck with the desire of the majority, right? So this is the issue. This is the first issue with democracy. There's a term that applies to this, and this term has been maligned by certain individuals, and I wanted to kind of clarify and straighten out what that term actually is about. The term is the tyranny of the majority. One of the very initial points of the way U.S. government was founded was that we were intended to operate not as a democracy. If you look at what the founders said about democracy, you will find that there was almost uniform scorn over this concept. They intentionally put in place not a democracy, but a republic. And it was a representative republic, and some of the members of the representation were intended to be elected. Okay? So going down the branches of government, the judicial branch, almost all of the members are appointed. So that part of the government, it's almost all about appointment. The executive branch, much appointment, some just straight hiring of individuals into positions. Some voted for individuals in certain regards, right? But much of the executive branch is either appointed or hired into positions and trained to do what they do. The legislative branch initially was set up so that one part was appointed, that is the senators, by the states to represent the states, not the people, neither the people of the state nor the people in general, right? This was changed by, I think it was the 17th Amendment. I forget now. I have that in the blog post that I've done on this. But the point I'm making is that the process was amended to make it so that this was done by popular election, and this was not something that totally destroyed that branch of government. But on the other hand, it also wasn't something that helped the process. Having bicameral houses still has merit, still has purpose, but it's lost part of its purpose in the fact that those people are elected now as opposed to being appointed by the states. The last group, the House of Representatives, were intended to be elected through popular election. So the point is, out of all of these, even for the people who represent Americans in various capacities of American government, probably the majority in many senses, though, you can argue the House of Representatives is the bigger because of the way it's set up, but that's not true for the judiciary, and that's not true for the executive, which actually probably outsize the House pretty substantially, right? The point is that even in the ones who are elected, though, even when you consider the executive, which starts with the president, and the president has a popular election component to putting the president in office, but ultimately it's the Electoral College that makes that decision, not by intent, not the president. And I go into why that's true in another one of my blog posts. But the point of all of this is, even among the ones who are, quote, democratically elected, once they're put in place, they're not expected to say, okay, now we're going to have referenda every 10 minutes to decide major policy issues in the United States. They're not doing that, right? What they're doing is they're put into place and they represent their people in the ways that they believe they ought to. And if the people disagree, they vote them out. It's that simple. Now, there's another sort of base concept. And this base concept is, not only do these people do their own thing as opposed to what they're put in place supposedly to do, which is to represent the people. And they're supposed to do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't represent the people. I'm saying that their representation of the people is based on their understanding of what's in their best interests, largely, more than just what the whim of the moment says should be happening. But the other consideration is that we are a republic. And what that means is we are, for all intents and purposes, a nation to whom law is the primary thing. You can't go into a political office, you can't become a representative, you can't become a senator, you can't become the president and decide that you're going to ignore the law. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. We know that it does. It happens. But what I'm saying is that was never the intent. The intent was the president, the judiciary, the executive in general, and the Congress of the United States were all intended to be under the law. And when Congress wrote laws, they were intended to fall within parameters set by certain base documents, namely the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and other base laws that came to exist, including amendments to that Constitution. So the point is, they weren't just supposed to be able to do their own thing without being beholden to law. I'll put it in those terms. So that's an important consideration. Now I want you to realize something else. This system was set up in part because it was realized that there were, one of the things that I said in the blog post, that there are people who believed that ownership of slaves was a fine idea. There was nothing wrong with that in the original Americas, in the Americas as they were originally. Now, those people are generally either gone or at least not given the time of day by anybody with any sense these days. But the point is, do you still have murderers? Yeah. You still have rapists? Yeah. Do you still have liars? Yes. Do you still have cheats? Yes. Do you have abusers of people? Yes. Do you have liars? Do you have, any number of bad behavior? Does it exist in your country? Yes. Is it ever going to go away? No. That considered, the idea even of allowing people to elect their representatives is a little bit high-minded, because what it assumes is that they're going to do what is for the people as opposed to, the people in general, as opposed to what's good for them or people of their ilk. Right? So if you have somebody and that person believes that it's reasonable to break in people's houses and take their stuff, hey, guess what? If when he votes, he's probably going to vote for people who are soft on that sort of crime, right? Who are not going to likely to write laws and so forth based on that kind of crime. So the point is, even if you assume that we've evolved past the point where we don't have things like people who are who believe that slavery is a good idea, you still have to acknowledge that we have plenty of criminals in the modern day. And so that's a consideration. And so again, here's the thing. I want to get back to my original point. The point is that the United States was not set up as a democracy. It was set up as a representative republic. That was done on purpose. It was done because it was recognized that democracy has a tendency to be very flighty, to not really represent the will of the people as you might think that it would, and that a republic will do that job better. Okay, I'm about out of time. And so, And so the point is that democracy tends to represent, as it were, the tyranny of the majority, and that's where that term comes from. All right, so I'm about out of time, and I'm going to go ahead and call this video good. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow should be the 14th, and that will be Wednesday of October 2020. For anybody listening on my podcast, thank you for listening, and I will do my best to make it so that what goes on my podcast is every bit as good as what you get out of the video. And there's not really much going on in the video. It's just basically me sitting and talking anyway. All right, so you guys have a great day, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching this video. Remember that you can like the video on YouTube, and you can give me a rumble on Rumble if you want to do that. Of course, you can also subscribe to my channel on both YouTube and Rumble. The channel would be Kurt's Religion and Politics. If you want to see more of my content, you can go to various places. The first of those places would be my blog. That's blogs.kpschubert.com, blogs.kpschubert.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Parler or Minds.com, you can look for my handle. I am at KP Schubert. That is at KPSHUBERT. You can also see my Facebook page. That also is Kurt's Religion and Politics. I have obviously a YouTube and a Rumble account. My channels on those accounts, pages, channels, whatever you want to call them, is Kurt's Religion and Politics. I have also, if you want to support me, a Patreon account. I am Kurt's Religion and Politics there. Thank you for looking at my stuff. Remember, you can subscribe. Remember, you can click notifications on the YouTube to make sure you're notified for new content. Again, thanks for coming to visit my channel. Thanks for watching this video, and you have a great day.